something we really wanted to emphasize was the sheer brutality of combat in the period.
We've all seen the paintings of the Revolution, and death is glorified, death is angelic, but it wasn't that way on the battlefield. It was a brutal conflict.
It feels that you're constantly going through dynamic fights, and that's not something technically we could do in the past. So it was like a personal challenge on the team to say, no, I think we can do this. These armies are filled with different types of weapons. So, you have everything from muskets, you have grenadiers, you have guys with boarding axes.
Being shot by a musket would be an awfully painful way to go. The caliber size of the ball was at least 3 or 4 times as large as anything that any modern military is using today. Nobody employs this size weaponry anymore on an individual soldier level. When it hit somebody, it didn't drill a neat little hole through them. It cleaved away arms and took heads off shoulders, and I mean, you'd be covered in that.
After the muskets were discharged, they would charge with their bayonets, what basically is a giant spear, and he has every intention of running that through you.
The bayonet affixes onto the end of the musket. It has 3 sides to it. When it made a wound, it could not close and therefore could not be stopped bleeding.
They would shoot and then they would march, and that hand-to-hand combat was really brutal. And whether it's people using a bayonet affixed on the end of a musket, a small hatchet, this is a kind of killing that is very mano a mano.
All the animations, all the weapons are brand new.
It was interesting to start on a new style of fighting that is much more close and aggressive.
Connor's favorite weapon is the tomahawk, obviously super deadly in hand-to-hand combat. Also the bow and arrow. It fits with his native heritage and it's lethal.
The rogue dart, it's a real accurate Chinese tool that we found the references for that period as well. He can use it from the ground, so he can bring the enemy towards him. It gives him the ability, for example, on the tree, to hang someone from above. In Assassin's Creed 3, the one thing that we've decided to do is to revamp the fight system from scratch.
We wanted the skill in the combat in the game to be about transitioning from character to character by choosing the right moves, by performing them correctly. It allows you to basically mow your way through large numbers of people if you're good enough without stopping.
We really tried to push the concept of him always being on the move. So we've got this great new move called the running assassinate. So basically you'll see Connor start to run. He'll use his tomahawk and be able to take down one enemy. Then he'll start running, picking up a musket as he goes, and being able to use that musket to shove it through one target and kill another one behind him. It's pretty cool.
What do you do if you go into a bunch of guys with muskets and they try and shoot you? So we had to figure out, can you dodge them? Can you run away? And we've added all these options, but our big one is the meat shield, where you can grab a guy and he gets shot instead. Our mocap guys are stuntmen. We spend a long time with them rehearsing and figuring out exactly what would be the greatest choreography. We had to go through like multiple people.
Your goal as a player is to move quickly into close combat. So we wanted a character who was very, very swift, who was able to sort of charge enemies, to assassinate on the run, and sort of get into close combat as quickly as possible.
Connor is trained in a very different style of fighting to the British soldiers.
The close quarters flow of the combat that's happening between the punches, the kicks, and everything else is indicative of what happens in the real world.
I'm very impressed by the moves that they do. It's cool to see push kicks and axe kicks and different sort of takedowns that are done correctly and very believable when they're done.
We're hand right, punch to the face, boom, to the throat, to the groin, finish with boom. This is something new for us that we're really proud of. It's fast, it's fluid, and you go through these guys like butter.
I think in a way we're still like actors, all of us, is whether you're a programmer, animator, we're really trying to act out what we want to bring to the game. At least someone on the team is always standing up, acting out different things. We've actually got a bunch of different toy props, so whenever we're starting to create a new weapon or new moves for a weapon, it's a lot of fun on the floor when we're coming up with these behaviors.
Connor is essentially the first guerrilla fighter. He's someone whose goal is always to move behind enemy lines, to pick off his target, and to escape.
Employing guerrilla tactics, or what we now know today as asymmetric warfare, was something that truly was a component of the American Revolution.
They learned what we would think was guerrilla-style warfare. You know, you sort of hit quickly and then disappear.
American tactics were really frowned upon by the British because the Americans did adapt the tactics that were used by the Native Americans from the French and Indian War.
For people who lived far from a city, they had to rely on their own abilities, so they became skilled hunters. And so when they did eventually fight in a war, they had certain skills, not about how to march in a line, but how to hunt.
There's this group of rangers, the Green Mountain Boys that were from Connecticut. They were like the most feared rangers. What they would do is they would come out and they would shoot very long distances. They could be pretty accurate for a long distance, and then they would hide behind the guys with the bayonets and reload, then come back out and shoot again. And these guys were just, you know, bush boys. I mean, they weren't really soldiers at all. They just were really good at shooting their rifles.
First big battle at Lexington and Concord takes place on a New England town green. And as the soldiers march back to Boston, they are marching along a dirt road lined by stone. You know, it's not the most effective strategy, wearing your bright red coat and march through the woods while some farmer's trying to shoot at you.
The Americans brought a tactic that they couldn't really cope with. They essentially took it away from the battlefield and they started guerrilla tactics.